quickly.
Has ugly.
We're excited this morning to be streaming core games. This is going to be a lot of fun, right?
Absolutely. So the other day, I guess it was about a week ago or so, Carson, who's been on our show a couple of times, sent me a link and said, you got to check this thing out. And luckily I did. And so Core, these guys, Sarah and Matt will explain it much better, but it's basically an amazing game design platform that, from my take, is great for what I do. So I teach game design and development. And I've been doing a lot with like Fortnite Creative and trying to bridge the gap between Fortnite Creative and Unreal Engine. And then I came across Core, which in my opinion is that beautiful middle ground, because you can create and get games up and running pretty quickly, but also the potential for programming behind them with Lua and such is tremendous in what you can do. But in terms of most of the things I've done with kids with game design engines, the idea of getting multiplayer functionality in the games has been probably way too challenging. And in Core, it's essentially built in. It's like integrated. So during this hour stream, we will probably have the opportunity to jump into a multiplayer game altogether, providing you have Core installed. So while we are here, definitely go to coregames.com and download it for free if you haven't already. And then you'd be able to join us a little later as we jump in. But I'm so happy that when I reached out to the development team, that they immediately responded that they'd be happy to join us. And I know Sarah is big in the education space, which I didn't realize. So that made me even more excited. And they have all sorts of great things going on for education. And Matt is, I believe, on the development team. I don't even know exactly your role, so you'll get to share that. But
I can help with that.
Great. We had a great chat the other day, and I'll leave it to them to introduce themselves now. So if you would, and thanks and welcome.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you so much for having us. So yeah, my name's Matt. I'm the head of the developer relations team here at Manacore. And our team's job is to help people find out about Core, to help them use Core, to write really fantastic documentation, to teach them, to really help them make that game that they've always dreamed of making. And Sarah's on the team as well and is leading our Core Academy efforts. Sarah, do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, I started with Manacore just a couple months ago, actually, and I'm like super excited to be here. We've been creating, kind of going from like the documentation of like understanding what this is to like how are we going to take anybody who has ever had this dream of making a game and let them do so, in this multiplayer platform. And I have been teaching coding through game development in like Minecraft, Unity, like web, and then I found this thing, and it really, I think, bridges a lot of gaps that we've had in like trying to like let people develop games and do it quickly without like a ton of extra steps that you have to like hoops that you have to jump through before you can do it.
Awesome.
And you mentioned the download link, so that's super important because we are a little bit earlier than our normal demo time this week, but there's a very important part of the demo where we all play games together. So if you want to hop in and shoot Mike with a weapon of your choice, it might be a sniper rifle, it might be a rocket launcher, we'll decide that a little bit later, then you need to go ahead and download it right now because it is a couple of gigabytes, and we're going to see if we can get the community in there as well. And I do see a question for, does it work for Mac? Not currently. So the editor will probably always be PC only because that's where we can focus our efforts to really make the best tool possible. Though we will be expanding to other platforms for playing. So we expect to be on mobile, we'll be on console. That's the nice thing about Core is built in or built on top of Unreal. So you're actually making Unreal games. It's an entire editor on top of the Unreal one. So you're not touching blueprints. You're not needing to get the giant manual in a couple years practice in order to start making it. But instead, you get this much simpler interface that I'll show you in a moment. So that gives you really powerful multiplayer games.
I had noticed when you install it that it references Unreal Engine, so
Mm.
I kind of had put that together when I was installing it on my computer yesterday. So, what are we gonna make? Let's
Yeah,
do
let's
something.
dive in. So I have core open right here, and then let's see. We're going to start out making a new project. We talked about calling this the Sandbox.
May or may not be the new name of this show.
I
We'll
love
see.
naming things, so
Yeah.
that makes me very proud. So right away, you should be pretty familiar with this if you've used Unity, Unreal, other engines and editors. But the difference here is you can jump in and hit play, and immediately I'm already running around. So I can jump, I'm not falling through the floor. I even have a mount that I can hop on. It looks like I have the hoverboard equipped, but you can also change that to, say, a velociraptor mount, because who doesn't want to ride around on a dinosaur?
There's
And
also a horsey. Sorry.
the horse is also important. We just added that one,
Nice.
and I need to update that so it has a unicorn horn on the end of it. But so already, like, this would take you several months of YouTube tutorials and learning how to do it just to get to where you're running around on a white box. Whereas what was important to us was that you're able to start making things right away. And then Core is built using a system of primitives, and you can think of that as a bunch of building blocks, a bunch of Legos that you can use to make and kit bash together for basically whatever you want. So you see I have a wall here. If I run into it, just like in real life, it will take me a lot of effort to run right through it. And then in addition to the cubes and regular shapes, we have a bunch of pre-made objects for, say, if you want to drop a tree in there, get a nice urban environment. We have sci-fi scene elements. We just released a fantasy scene kit so that you can put together giant castles. And I have one other thing to show you, which is we wanted it to be really hard to make something look bad. And so we have a system called Smart Materials that we put a lot of love and care into. And you'll notice that with, let's get this tree out of here. It's shading me. So look at the texture and notice that it's a consistent pattern.
Wow.
Almost every single material in the game, as you're doing this, even while you're rotating it, you don't have to bake it. It's just going to know, oh, you want this to be a solid brick wall, and so it's going to do that for you. Now,
Wow.
don't worry, if you want to customize it, all of these have a ton of elements for, say, if you want to change the color. You can also turn off Smart Materials if you want to go really deep. But what gets really cool is, of course, if you change it, it becomes a little less smart, but there we go. But then what's really cool is once you have your masterpiece here, you can save it to community content. And community content is like our asset store, but only it's completely inside the product and free. Like, you don't need to pay anything for it. So, oh, come on, my street sign. So if I saved all of that there, then I'd be able to share it with the community and start putting games together just from that. So we're going to use stuff other people have made to
First off,
start.
this is instantly not what I was expecting in a good way. I'm curious, Matt. So I see a space, a blue space. Is that the limit of the space that you can create on? Is that your creation space?
What a good question. So we have an entire.
I think the answer is no.
No.
I heard laughing.
So I'm going to hop into the terrain generator real quick, because you do need space to run around on, and you can create mountains, hills. We have a nice desert monuments one. I'm going to stick with this backyard mountains field, and this is going to be a 256 by 256 one, but you can go all the way up to 1028 by 1028. And this is, oh man, I made that one gigantic. But you'll notice it has the mountains in the background, and you can start using that as the template that you use to build your game out of. We also have materials that you can apply to that as well. So I'm going to put a desert background. We just released a new terrain painter, so I could go in here and I could color the walls to be a rocky one. We also have a wild foliage generator that we released last week that you can get trees and foliage and even skulls and bones and things to start coloring it.
Oh, people used it to generate fire, so they could just, light the whole thing on fire. It's a good foliage use I didn't think of.
Now you can paint. Can you paint foliage or like textures onto the So, for example, you have mountains. Can you put snow on the mountains?
You can. Let me show you.
Show me. I'm into this.
I told you would be, Mike.
Oh my god.
there's that
Yeah,
kind
look
of
at
the
that.
mountaintop thing. I'm going to drop snow on everything at the moment, but you could combine these two. So you have the grassy with the snow-capped mountains, get kind of a more cliffy element here, mossy. And then we have that is totally customizable too. If you want to have grass topped by something, a glowing emissive, then you can do that one.
You
And
can
the
also
idea
specify by
you're
height.
literally just dragging the
Mhm.
textures onto the thing. Holy
So
crap.
now I'm dragging the textures and also the arena. So this is an arena that
Right.
somebody else has built, and they shared it in and said, this is based on a game that we really love called Sniper Alley. And you can now build your own Sniper Alley. And this is the arena. You'll notice it's the same thing. Make sure I set up my spawn points correctly here. Oh, not quite. So not quite the game that we want to do there.
Uh-oh.
But
I love the light. A lot of comments in the chat on the lighting.
yeah, and of course, this
Yeah.
is a sky that you can customize as well. You can change it to a nighttime sky. Yes, you can set up a day-night cycle, and that's just Lua. So we have Lua embedded in the platform. Lua is a scripting language that is used all over gaming. I'm sure your audience is familiar with it, and we're really loving it. It's fast, it's secure. There's what I'm trying to do. Aha. And then turning on my spawn points, there we go. So that should be working there. So it's fast, it's secure, it's something that is relatively easy to pick up. And also, if you don't want to pick it up, all of it is customizable without having to dive into the Lua itself. All right, there we go. Now we are where we want to be, running around. The mount is still going to work, so we have our Velociraptor riding around in the desert. But I'm sure you're saying, hey, this arena is relatively empty. And this gets to, in core, you can hop in right away for what it is that you want to work on. You can make entire games. You can start level designing right away. So the person that made this built some buildings, some palaces, some oasi that you can arrange however you want, and use that to, maybe you want to make it look pretty, or maybe you want to start building your level design chops, where you're showing where am I going to try to force the players to go, where am I going to try to create conflict, as many good games do. So I'm going to drop some things in the middle here. And any questions while I decorate my play space?
I was thinking about so one of the comments in the I want to more have a conversation with the commenter, with Nick, about his comment, because the comment talks mainly about, is there anything in the EDU docs that explains how these things work?
Can you clarify the question?
Yeah. So
yes,
I kind of want him to clarify too, but because what I'm thinking is like not every game design engine has like the coding aspect as its core, maybe as its like core focus. Like I think that, even though I think that there is probably a lot of coding potentially embedded in this that we haven't seen yet. I mean, I love that it seems to me that you could take really deep dives into learning like design iteration,
Yeah.
and like making things look great is something that you need to learn in addition to all of it. So
what Nick
okay, hold on.
said-
So like it's great that everything just works, but understanding how those things came to just work. Yeah, I mean,
How about I show you that right
get
now?
it. Yeah, for sure. I'm just not necessarily sure that it has to. Like, even though maybe it does.
Well, also remember
Sometimes you just want to make a game.
And what I think Matt's going to show too is you can edit a lot of the properties, so you have that beauty of taking something as it's available and then saying, "Ooh, let me tweak it to my needs." That's like a one step into like kind of modding and stuff, and then you do have the potential to go so deep with Lua. I also think.
Let me hop in there, because you're asking about customization and how you build it yourself. And I always like to show these palm trees, because everything is built out of stuff that is already in core. People ask about importing their own models. Some platforms do that, but we found what keeps things really fast and with a cohesive look that you can then apply your own style to, but also with a really fast load time, is this kit bashing method. And it's really the secret sauce. So this palm tree, there isn't a palm tree in core right now. We'll probably add one eventually, but somebody really wanted palm trees, so they built a column, or they took a column primitive, and then they took a fern, and they flipped the fern upside down, put it on top of the palm tree, made some coconuts, and then now they have a palm tree. Then they shared that to community content. Now everybody has a palm tree. So it gets very Borg-like that as soon as one member of the community has it, everybody does. Now this gets advanced with even things like scripts, with the terrain. The more and more complex that you go, somebody just made a really complicated an interesting first-person shooter module that added on to the one that we already have, and then suddenly every first-person shooter on the platform was able to use it. Now, you can do this with logic as well. So while I've shown you the kind of drag and drop things where you can go in and change the color of stuff, you can also do that in the Lua. So let me drag this in. We now have game logic in the game. So if we fired it up, we're going to need UI as well. So let me put the UI in there. And that's another thing that you can just share around all of that behavior. So when I hit play now I have a sniper rifle.
You literally clicked one button and turned on a whole user interface.
And was able to give people a sniper rifle because this is based on Sniper Alley, and it has the zoom feature. If I fire, then I can reload. And you can still change all of this. So I'm going to go to the game logic here. And let's see. And I actually have my editor set up for VS Studio, which I should probably change there. But we have a Lua editor built entirely inside the platform, so you don't need to have something else. However, we have a bunch of tools for extending that. So we have the linters, we have the error detection for Atom, for VS Studio, and a couple of others. And then, are you able to pick up my editor here? Cool. So this is what that looks like, where this is actual Lua code that you can go in and start changing these variables. You can get as granular with that as you want to, and that's what we're finding is a good tool for learning how all of this works. And Sarah, I'm going to look for where we change the weapons. So can you elaborate on the coding part?
Yeah, so like, this is sort of like you can just make a game. That's like totally true. But even this like UI, this is one preset UI that somebody put together so that you could use it as one package. Every like tiny piece of that is also its own component that I could style a completely different way. And I'm saying style like it's just the design component of it, but like there is a lot of kind of like ramp up to coding available by taking someone's piece that has like maybe one script in it, playing with custom properties, which you can do through the UI, and like recoding and adjusting a lot of things. And a lot of times you need to do like a little bit of hooking things up. We've got an example that we're doing right now in a kind of Valorant inspired game that's becoming a course. I don't know how into Valorant your stream is, but it's definitely.
I would actually love to know how many people know what Valorant is. I know what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'm interested.
And Sarah, is that the Spike Diffuse asset or the Spike?
So the Spike Diffuse asset is the one that's like ready to use by the things, and then the Spike parentheses prob I made, and it is two pieces, an octagon inside of a piece of a column, but it looks really good here. And yeah, when you drag it in, right away you have equipment. Your character will be able to pick it up and drop it, and it will do all of the VFX with that.
All right, now we have an important question too, which is what weapon do we want to use? It can be a sniper rifle like it is typically. We have pistols, we have shotguns, we have rocket launchers, grenade launchers. What'll it be?
We can't get the cupcake launcher in here, can we?
Ooh, we can get the cupcake launcher.
This is very important things. But yeah, I think this is actually one of my favorite ways to play with things. Is people will make a scripted object like the grenade launcher, and then you can take that and you can break it apart and say that like, oh, okay, on this side I've got some server side logic that is controlling letting people know that I blew something up. And then on this side, I've got some pretty logic, which is about showing what the thing is supposed to look like. Oh yeah, don't pick up the spike right now if you have a weapon in your hand, because you have to change it to use the other button because it defaults to I am the weapon, I am the spike, or the bomb. Yeah.
And sad news, I do not have the new location that we put the cupcake gun, so we're going to stick with sniper rifles.
Yeah.
But then we should probably start playing. So I am going to remove the spike for now because I want to make sure that this game runs as we want it to, and we can all get a good match going. So
if I could just jump in with one question we had from the chat, and I think I might know the answer. But is there a way for teachers to block weapon use? This is another one because so many school districts don't allow that. I'm thinking this engine relies so heavily on, shooters, and that's why there's the age requirement and such. But are there thoughts around, ways to customize that?
It's a quirky thing because the weapon, in terms of the way we use it in core, is what we use for like tool. So if I were making like a pick from, whatever craft, then craft what you will, then I would actually probably still use this template that's called weapon. Right now there isn't like a way to like block community content,
Right.
But there is absolutely the possibility of just like, only using things. There's no reason that you need to have a shooter in a game. This is actually the question my mom asks me every time I'm explaining my job. And I'm like notoriously bad at shooters myself. And
Me
we have
too.
a couple of great examples of,
That's funny. I'm notoriously bad at explaining my job.
That's,
it's possibly the hardest thing about being in game development is explaining what you do to your parents.
Well, and it's interesting because we had this come up. So my students really wanted to use Fortnite Creative when it came out, and we went through this process. And what we did, I had the kids actually write to our principal and explain how, in other engines like Game Maker, they could still bring in and make a gun.
People make guns,
or they don't have to. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary, and it's a matter of kids, kind of knowing what's acceptable and allowed within the confines of the class environment, if that's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, some schools handle that differently, of course.
And can you pull up my screen here again? Because we're about to play.
All right.
And so what I'm showing you here is the other part of core, which is how do you find these games? How do you play them? And we find that as you make games easier and easier to make, you start getting this bigger and bigger universe of games that you can play. Like you have to think about what games are not getting made right now because it costs $10 million in 3 years of your life of a team of 100 in order to make it. So here you can just publish it and start playing right away. And notice that our game is not here. There is no Sandbox in the new game queue at the moment. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to save everything and we're going to publish it and then we're going to play.
I love the workflow of this. When I was playing around with Carson the other day, I literally did something, published it, gave him the link like you're about to do, and we were in together. And that to me was amazing.
It is magic, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
All right. So do we add each other as friends in this, or
it's much easier
you just
than
drop
that.
in the link. So all of those things that you saw, that's just an HTTP call that you can use to launch the game. And recall earlier that you only need to download this once. There's no update. You don't have to download any of the models inherent in this game. You just need to have downloaded that once. It has the editor. It has everything that you need to play. And the thing that you're going to end up having is it's just like 100 kilobyte executable. And where do I drop this in there?
That's a good question. If you want to direct message it to me, are you in the Twitch stream?
There we go.
I just dropped it in the private chat. And if you can proliferate that.
There we go. So Michael now
load that up. Go ahead and hit the play button. I'm going to just prove that it is here right now. And it's literally moments later that it's popped up and that you can now start playing with people anywhere in the world. So let's go to here. I'm going to go in through the client. And yeah, let's play a little bit.
Hey, I'm going in.
This is where you get to see my amazing first-person shooter skills.
And my, my not so amazing skills.
Steve is great at video games. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Oh my God, I'm playing a game that was made in 30 seconds.
Come on, it took him 5 minutes to make it.
Yeah, to be fair.
Oh, wow.
You're in already? I'm like loading, joining. Let's see. Come on, bring it. I'm in. This looks beautiful. Now, oh my gosh.
A beak sore.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Good morning, Patrick.
Patrick's your dude. Your guy at the...
beak sore who got me? Who just killed me? All right.
Oh.
So, like,
how many?
When you, I guess we haven't set up any conditions for when people die.
No, there's it respawns.
Or is there a respawn?
Should
I respawn.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I would be the first one to know that.
Yeah.
So we've had people make versions of this with spin fusers from tribes. We've had people do it with katanas. We had one person make one of a sniper alley, but it's pretty weird where your gun jams and it's surprisingly fun. But then you can make many other.
Oh no, I missed you!
You got me, you jerk.
So I have something else to show y'all, and if I could humbly request you to not shoot me in the head while we do it.
I can follow that, whether I want to or not. Whether I want to or not, I'll follow your.
Anywhere else is fine.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to take me a little bit to run there because usually I'll turn on triple jumps and mounts for this because that's my favorite way to play. But we're on foot, just like our ancestors in this case.
I hear like a
Apache helicopter, would you say?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. That's an actual object that's up there, and then there's a bunch of VFX for it. And then the sound is also something that we've got basically included with the engine. So it's just like. Yeah, and like if you're psyched about like the lighting and the post processing effects and stuff like that, we've got a VFX course that is launching today. I'm doing a stream about it tomorrow on our Twitch, and so to kind of like introduce it to people. Who is that? I'm trying not to kill you, Scav, but I can't resist.
All right, I have made it. So. Come on over to this wall here. You can find it. Nice. Because we discovered a secret passage, and go ahead and follow me in here.
Wait. Oh, I'm lost.
All right. So in the compass, it is towards the north part of the map. If you can see the compass, compass at the top. I've gotten lost in here so many times because I get really turned around in 3D spaces.
Yeah, me too.
And this is where it gets really cool. So you have more games getting made. You have them getting made faster, and you can fire them off with just a link that connects them together. This means that you can start connecting these different games and experiences together in the games themselves.
No, wait. Meaning that you can go from one like level, let's say, to another.
That's right. Sarah, can you go ahead and hop in?
Oh, heck yeah.
Where are you?
I know if I got to be the first. Yeehaw!
It'll probably be, we are along the back wall.
Yeah, I'm along a
so
wall.
You're
yeah. Yep, if you just keep going towards
at me.
You can we'll have some people hop in, and we'll give you the link when we hop in as well. So you start connecting these together, and you start getting these different worlds that you can jump into embedded in the games.
That's ridiculous.
And the implications of this, where you can be building social hubs and worlds and rooms for your classrooms, where maybe everybody is hanging out in there, and you've connected together the different students' worlds. And that's like your final exam or just a social project.
So that portal that you put in there, did you just set it up to go to a different game?
Correct.
Oh my God.
I am now in a game called Spellshock, and Sarah, can you drop the link for Spellshock in the private chat there, and then that will let us get some other people in there.
I think I'm in.
Spellshock, some fun trivia. This is actually how Manicore started. Manicore started out as a game studio. We really loved World of Warcraft Battlegrounds. We were talking about MMOs earlier, and we felt, you know what, we deserve to have a new version of Battlegrounds and play that. But we also wanted it to be highly moddable, highly customizable. And when we were building all of those tools, we realized, wait, that's that's the product. These customization tools, we should be sharing these with everybody. And then eventually that became Core, and we recreated Spellshock in Core using those tools. So this is a typical capture and hold. You run up to these and you capture it for your team. Don't make the mistake I did, which is I started without grabbing a weapon. But if in that starting area, you can grab the sword, the laser gauntlets, or the crossbow.
Laser gauntlets are where it's at. Also, they're all abilities on cooldown, so you can kind of see how you would, make an interface to show people how to do that. And kind of like make more complex controls than just like a shooter available. And yeah, laser gauntlets, definitely the best.
Nice. So this is a co-op game, what we're in right now?
It's a team-based game.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
You have two teams that are against each other, red and blue, the classic. And you're going from spot to spot to try to capture them.
Right.
And since
I'm
unarmed,
on Sarah's team, I think.
Oh yeah. Also,
show
try pressing G while you're in here.
And since
capture point C. We win.
There we go. And since this is a more technical audience, I can share some of the under the hood stuff. So first, all of this can be made just about with no Lua. Like you get these flaming trees, you make one flaming tree and then you can copy that and move it all over. And I think it's available in community content. When you do get into the Lua, you get some advanced behavior of lerping and slurping, where if I look this direction, the environment looks green. If I look this way, the environment looks red. Change that to other colors, add different behaviors in there.
Is lerping and slurping a real term?
They are real things.
Very
serious, highly mathematical things.
I'm going to use that as many times today as I can.
Yep.
In conversation.
We have another portal.
I had learned lerp, but did not believe slurp, and then
So I'm going to go ahead and hop in here.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're heading back to the blue side. Like if you started on red, that means you're heading clean across the map, and then if you started on blue, we're heading back to kind of where we started, and I'm already lost, so I hope everybody else has found it. Oh yeah.
You also made out of primitives.
I think I'm lost as well, but that's okay.
Yeah. And this game is also open source. So I could like basically remix Spellshock itself. And the version of this that I do is I actually basically loot Spellshock for stuff I want. So I'll like look in here. Okay, this column is awesome. And then we'll find a template for the column, save it as I do just like private templates because other people can get these, and then put it in my game.
And we have Wave Paradigm in chat. Hey, Adam. Adam, can you share cannons and corsairs?
Yeah. Speaking of anybody who is interested in non-gun uses of core, Adam is like
that has come up.
Oh
my god!
People also ask, hey, can you make things that are not third-person over-the-shoulder PvP games? And the answer is absolutely. We have one creator, Waffle, who created a keyboard that you can put any MIDI in a JSON format and then just play whatever music that you happen to have the MIDI for, and it lights up the keys that it's showing and that it's playing.
Coming for you, Mr. Washburn.
I don't know how to move.
So hold down
your
forward,
arrow
hold
keys
down
to
W.
move, and then your mouse buttons will do the shooting.
Oh, I'm still in Spell Force or whatever it's called, I think. Am I supposed to go somewhere else? I'm trying to capture. How do I capture?
Oh, you got me.
There we go.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay. Okay, so forward moves, arrows, your mouse. Okay, your mouse.
I'm gonna watch y'all play for a
turns
minute.
you.
Yeah, this is.
So we went
Switch
through a custom game into a pre-made game and into this, which is like a Sid Meier's Pirates meets World of Warships.
Yeah, so any game you have the link to, because of this sort of like link-based sharing system, you could put in a portal like that. So you could be like, here is my like cool house, and if you go out any of these doors, you go to my favorite games, none of which I made, I just think they're cool. And that is, one approach. Or you know what we could do is we could jump into Wave Paradigm's hub world after this. If you want to see kind of a user-created...
Let's do
no.
Space. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hop into the hub world, and so now we're going to bounce from game to game. Luckily, we have Adam himself that can help us out with the links that we're going to.
Oh, I need a link. I need a link to that river you're in now.
Yeah.
I had applied for the boot camp last night when I saw that, and
Awesome.
at least one other person in our chat, my buddy and other game design teacher, Shouts, applied, I think, while we were in the stream today. So fingers crossed.
If I had the time for something like that, I would do this in a second.
For me, I mean, right now, in terms of the best PD opportunity I could see in these times, I mean, that is it. Holy cow.
And I'm in the hub world now.
Yeah, awesome. So
yeah, here we go. And then Sarah, can you? So what is the boot camp?
So the boot camp is going to be this really awesome opportunity. It's about a 10-hour-a-week commitment. So I guess that's your time question, to learn game development with like all of the amazing, I mean, really ridiculously amazing people that you meet at Manticore. You're just like chilling and they're like, oh yeah, I was working on The Sims and Scorn, no big deal. Oh, American McGee, yeah, what a character. I don't know if you saw our stream yesterday, but we
so to clarify, American McGee does not work for Manticore.
Sorry. It's just stories. Yeah, and so it's going to be this opportunity to working in core and learning core as a platform, and also like more of this game industry stuff. You get to do meetings plus game development. Who wouldn't want that?
Over to Rollem. So this is in this corner this way, and then Adam will also drop a link for Rollem. Adam, Wave Paradigm in chat, made Rollem and is one of our earliest alpha creators.
Awesome.
And I am really proud of the community that's growing up there. We just passed 2,500 that are active in the Discord, and you have people of all skill levels helping each other out, making whatever game it is that they want. They post what they are working on. They do works in progress. And this was actually the second or third user-made game that was on the platform that just keeps getting polished. And we recently played this with 15, 16 people the other day, and I laughed out loud every time that I saw a bunch of marbles fall down at the same time.
I've never finished a Rollem level. I have literally never crossed one of these in my life.
I finished my first one 2 nights ago, and I just about fell over in my chair. Oh, there! That's my third one that I've ever finished.
How cool is it that it's a multiplayer rollerball game?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going. I'm ahead of Scav.
Yeah, carefully, don't do it before that thing appears, or you'll learn a valuable lesson.
Yeah. Oh. It's nice because it teaches itself. You don't really have to look up the instructions. You just fall off of something and be like, oh yeah.
I don't understand how I've never heard of this before.
Isn't it awesome? Launched. Oh, how often has the alpha been out? Because I mean, it's so polished for something that just launched.
Oh man, I can't. So we've been working on it for about 3 years now, and we entered a closed alpha in December. That was a friends and family alpha that then we expanded to student groups and modder groups that we reached out to, started really putting it through its paces. And then March 16th, there we go. March 16th was when we hit the button to go into open alpha. And we talked about that a lot, where we said, do we really want to go open where anybody can download it? Like, do we want it to still be kind of private? And really, the answer was no, because core gets better the more people that are making things.
Well, that's I mean, I was just going to say, I can't, it's funny because, so again, I'll shout out Chronosaurus on here who introduced me to this, but he did a stream with us on Game Maker, which I'm a big fan of. But what we were talking about on that stream was, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you created a script for Game Maker and it just was that easy to share it among the community? And it's really not, but your environment thrives on that. And that's what we need. I mean, for me to be able to find what I need that somebody else kind of created is incredible.
Yeah, when I was teaching, we were using Scratch, right? This MIT dragging, and it's great, but it's limited at a certain point. But when you try to take someone who has learned from Scratch and you take them off of it, they're like, literally, I could just press share and share that link to anybody and embed it in websites
Yes.
and like all of these things. And now you want me to sit here, making Snake again. And, and it's just, we're in this interesting time where, like, I don't know, when you talk to young people, video games just are multiplayer. Like,
Right.
Pac-Man is cool and all, but that's not really a video game. That's like a toy.
Gosh, that's the other thing. So,
yeah.
I mean, I've when we've tried to use engines to create the multiplayer networking, I mean, that's where everybody's brain
It's
starts
the first
to
thing
explode.
everybody wants to do, and it's just like,
Impossible.
oh, okay, all right, we
Not
can do
easy.
that.
And how about we hop into Gravity Dome?
Kat, I'm
Okay.
so determined to do this.
It's
dang.
addictive. You can
We
play
can, of
this
course,
one
leave
by
you to that.
yourself. So if you
They
want
are
to secretly
they are
train so that
watching
you're
me
not
come
embarrassed,
so
Yeah.
close.
This is it. This is it.
Woo!
Oh my goodness, great stuff.
So I just gave you a link in private chat. For this is something that just got published publicly yesterday by one of our creators named Maple, and it's kind of a blitzball meets shooter meets not quite CTF, but you're trying to shoot each other while getting your power ups.
Blitzball is a
one
pretty
that just-
hardcore nerdy reference that you're going to have to explain to some people. I know what you're talking about, but
It is from an ancient game known as Final Fantasy X.
yeah.
Yes.
And was surprisingly not blitzy. It was like a turn-based thing, but the cinematics and the promise of blitzball was very fun. So this is also a game that sapped a bunch of our productivity at the office once it got posted.
Now,
This
And
is
I
pretty
think that we
weird.
have about 15 minutes left. Do y'all have more questions that we haven't answered yet?
I have a question about something like this. So we shared the link so we all can go in it. Now, if somebody was just on the platform and went to Gravity Dome or whatever this is called, would they end up in our game also, or not necessarily?
Yes, so we handle all of the multiplayer, the server instances, the connectivity there, and also the logic for what happens when people join.
So in other words,
right now we have a max of 16 players in an instance. We're working on improving that. We're hoping to have 32 soon and more after that. Currently, if you hit 16, and this is user settable, where if you want to have a game that only allows one person in it, you can. Or if you want to have 8, or say you want to have a 4-person game for whatever reason, then when you hit the server limit, it spins up another instance and does that automatically.
Got it. But in other words, like if 5 people were playing Blitzdome and then all of a sudden we dropped this link in and 10 of us joined, we would be joining those 5 people. Yep. Oh, cool. Neat. That's neat.
I'm seeing if I can
actually
get some
just
of
went
the
to trending games, which
Alice
Gravity.
in Wonderland entries.
Oh, okay.
Brad Treffler, don't you dare talk bad about Final Fantasy X or we won't be friends anymore.
I don't think I played 10.
I think a good one to show is Core Plaza.
I own 10 in multiple formats. What is the best computer to make a game? I mean, so this only works. This is a PC, a Windows-based program, right? So what are the minimum system requirements for the engine?
Sarah, do you have those handy? We do have.
I can get them. It's I don't know. It's not. We are working on basically making this easier and easier to install them for everybody to use. I don't. Let's see here.
It's a higher min spec at the moment, so that we are getting down over time. It will also be lower for playing it than it is for creating. And yeah, we really haven't had.
Wave Paradigm got us with the minimum system requirements.
There we go.
Thank you.
Adam's a hero.
You, Adam. But yeah, also hi Mom. Who asked that question.
And we do use Unreal's system as well for helping with performance. So there's things that you can turn off in order to get it to work better and get your game of Sniper Alley going. So what you see here, this is our example of a hub world. So this is Core Plaza, and we've built it in a bunch of different styles and added mini games and ways for people to gather. And then we added portals to different games that you can jump into. And in another example of the herd immunity growing, another of our users made an auto queue system that while you're in Core Plaza, you can actually queue up for any of the games that it connects to. And then when somebody else queues up for it, you can hop into it. But these could be totally different games. So now there's more of a reason to also hang out in there.
So we've got a question, it's been asked a couple times. Particle effects, rain, snow, weather, that kind of stuff. Is that possible?
Absolutely. We made Rainbow Rain very recently because it's all kind of like partially drag and drop and then customizable, and then you can take like you can repurpose a visual effect and a post-processing effect that is not intended for your use but can be made to do the things that you have in mind. I guess we don't have a lot of intentions for things. We just give them names so you know what they look like, and then want to see people kind of use everything in crazy ways. But yeah, there's a lot of different post-processing. We've got gently falling leaves, and both like the rain falling from the sky and the rain hitting the ground. We just use those in our environmental art tutorial that also shows you how to like use the terrain painting and foliage generation and all this cool stuff. And if you haven't pressed G,
all
so
the
you
time.
can enjoy your mounting system. And because Core Plaza was just like not meant to be on foot. It is definitely meant to be hoverboarded, in my opinion. Because they wouldn't let you do that at a real life theme park. So time to do it.
Interesting. So is everything in Core in this Core Plaza, is it an asset that's in Core for anybody?
Yes. And also, Core Plaza is open, so you can essentially remix this and be like, I want a balloon sales system. And you could just take that balloon sales system out and put it in your game, because it's not, it's not just that we have this like culture of sharing. We have a platform that is extremely good for taking all of these pieces and bringing them back and forth. Really, yeah, like the Borg, which I don't know is a reference that people actually are still very current with. I don't know, Picard just came out, so maybe we're talking about the Borg again, but it's definitely really designed for this in a way that like other game platforms I've used have like, oh, somebody made this like RPG class system asset and somebody made this like spherical generation asset, and like that does not mean that they are going to play with each other at all. And ours is much better like set up to make everything kind of work with everything else, which makes it more fun to share things, because you just show you just see your cupcake gun or whatever it is showing up in other people's projects like really, really quickly. My like metagame for Core is seeing how many people download my community content. It's like, that's right, giant tree you can walk inside is just leading the pack. I've got like
okay, so are there NPCs?
They are coming. So we just released. So NPCs are a big and important feature that is going to add a ton of different things that you can do with it. So this is actually a good example of the continuum that happens in Core, where we learned early on that anytime somebody said, "Hey, what can Core not do?" And then we answered that with, well, it currently, like, it's not as good as this, but it can do this. Every time we said that, 3 days later, somebody had made it. And that's because there's multiple layers at which that could happen. So at the very top layer, the modding layer, the Lua layer that anybody has access to, we have people have already made NPC systems that you can apply to anything that you build and model in the game. But then we want to have that be a primary function in Core as well. So we're stair-stepping our features into that. And actually 2 days ago, we released a feature called Animated Meshes, where you can apply an animation to this set of meshes that it's humanoids. We have a mesh of this raptor. So you can, say, have the player run around as a raptor and apply different materials to it. But then you can script behavior to that. So you can have, hey, this mesh should walk to this place and swing a club at this player. And from there, like, NPCs are a pretty straight shot. So we're going to be adding more and more features to that. But already today, our users have made pathing. They've made some AI that you can apply to it. And it's only going to get better from there.
Yeah, Carson just posted a link in the chat too, and I was messing around with this with him the other day, at least as he started playing around with it, was the drone pathfinding. So he's been playing with that script a bit. Javier is here.
Oh yeah, there's a drone game. Is this his project?
No, I think he
Is
found
this
the
just what he's
drone.
looking at?
And then of course he's been saying, "Ooh, I want the drone to, do these other things."
Yeah, so there is a complete standard combo in community content has like a complete AI system that was before the animated meshes, so they were just little spheres with angry faces up until very recently, and now they're little flying dragons. I think I don't know actually what mesh he picked, but they could be this cute little fox. It's really adorable. You will want it to hang out with you forever.
Sitting, can you interact with objects in the game?
Yeah. And so there's like it's not that like my character doesn't have a sit function inherently, right? But I can create chairs and things that they can sit in. And my method for this is kind of like what I've been saying with a lot of these things, which is you find somebody else's chair you can sit in, and then you make your chair model. I made a very cool folding chair, by the way, in case anybody was looking for something. The thing that's going to tie their scene together. It's a folding chair.
Now Sarah's really pushing those template downloads.
She's playing her metagame.
Yeah, I kind of did something that is sort of out of character for me, and I built a full wedding venue, but I just felt like all of these people were just like, we're in, Animal Crossing or whatever, which is super awesome, but I can make something where you can choose the time of year, the foliage, what time of day do you want it to be? We have a skybox for all of those things. Like, there's so many possibilities for people who just want to build, like, the place they want to hang out in, kind of like the Sims style, where you're just like, well, this is my dream house, and you can kind of do that, but you don't have to earn bells from anybody, and there's no limit, and you're actually doing real game design at the same time, because Core is at this like really cool space where you can kind of approach it from a modding perspective, where I'm just like taking other pieces and putting them together, but this is like a game development platform. You could start from just that empty floor that we showed you at the very, very beginning of the demo and be like, okay, I am going to program A-star pathfinding for this creature, and it's going to do it. And someone else has probably done something similar, but your approach is also like, you could just do that from scratch if that's what you want to do, and now create, a navigation area for basically AI. It's just, the programming is something that's right now just up to users, instead of like being like, we have one, it will just, try to track you down like a creeper or something like that. That's not there yet in terms of like what's core, but it is there if you want to use community content, and it is completely within the realm of possibility if that is what you want to see in this world.
I want to make a game with this.
Let's do it, Mike.
And like educationally, there's a lot of possibilities here. Sorry, I'm just very excited. There's like if I were a teacher directing a project, I would probably have like one core project and have people making different templates that we incorporate in, or designating like project managers who are going to like take all these templates that are made by individual people. We recently saw a project that had Matt. Do you know how many people were on the Cogswell team? I think it was more than 20 people working on one project.
It was a couple dozen. It was 20 to 30.
Yeah. It was a lot of people, and they made these, oh my god, these intricate, beautiful models. It's not called an astrolabe, but it was something like this, like Victorian gold things. They made like all these individual books in the library, and it was like a lot of pieces, and I would probably have split that into maybe 4 games, which again, you just attach with the portals and you're in the next place, because there was just so much stuff to look at that you like couldn't take it all in at a certain point. But there's the possibility of like collaborating on this, and like, everybody, we're going to work on this, our fantasy game. You're going to make this. I'm going to call it a weapon, but it doesn't have to be a weapon. It's just weapons are items with functionality that you use for a purpose. And yeah, so there's so much you could do with this. I mean, just like if we wanted to build Core Plaza here, we definitely have one person working on each section.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
So if you had different people working on, now that's an interesting point. So what you showed us before, Matt, how you can go from one world to another. I had asked you the other day about, multiplayer collaboration, and you can't do it in the same game, but we could each develop a level and then connect our levels. See, that's
easily
awesome.
Right, or you can fork one another's
Right.
levels, and so that is optional as well. Some people ask about, do I have to post things publicly? We strongly encourage it because that's what makes
Yeah.
everything
Oh, of
better.
course.
However, if it's your secret sauce and you wanna, or you're not ready to show it publicly yet, you can do that privately as well.
Yeah.
Or you can do it publicly but not have it be forkable. But assuming that it is, then you could make something and then I can take it and improve it, or you
Sure.
can make something that I did.
Yeah.
You could make something in yours, and then I could say, "Hey, that's really cool. Can I use that?" And then you share it to community content when
Yeah.
it gets over. And there's going to be more collaboration tools coming too,
Awesome.
because what we see as a magical moment of core is that moment you realize you're not in this by yourself.
Right.
That
Right.
this doesn't need to be a solitary experience where you're trying to figure out, oh, where did I lose a semicolon in there? That instead you can hop into the Discord, you can talk with somebody else, work with the partner that is
Yep.
making it with you, and share things back and forth. And suddenly you have this much richer experience than you did when you started the day.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So we gotta run. It is 2 minutes to 10, and this has been great. This was eye opening, and I'm actually stunned and a little speechless, to be honest, at how cool this is, which is so great. Speaking of shameless plugs, we'll plug that there's a lot going on today. The US Challenge live stream is at 2:00 today, with myself and Dr. Julie Keene, and Carl Hooker is joining us on the stream to talk about how parents are coping during this crisis and becoming teachers. And then also we have Steve and I trying to survive yet another day in Minecraft Hardcore at 3:00 today. So check out both of those streams on this channel. If you're not following us already, make sure you do that. If you're watching on Facebook, like us there. If you're watching us on Twitch, make sure you hit that heart button at the top of the screen. And we're streaming to YouTube for the first time today because I'm sick of having to upload the Twitch streams to YouTube. So now they are just there now.
And if I could, let me add a couple things, Mike, too, because we have tomorrow morning, we have Lynn Telfer joining us. We're going to build an Atlantis underwater city in Minecraft, and Lynn is an amazing builder. And then tomorrow afternoon is our tabletop Friday thing. So we need to choose a game and choose a few people to join us for that. So that'll wrap up our week.
Awesome. Lots going on.
Can I plug our Twitch channel as well?
Yeah. What's your Twitch channel? Is it
all right? And so
Games?
You can find us at coregames.com. Of course, it's free to download, and you get the entire editor and can play any of the games. We stream every day at twitch.tv/corelive, and that's the same idea of a community building games, sharing professional skills and seeing what the latest games are. So /corelive. Let's see, Sarah, I think
what
you might
time?
have the schedule. Sarah, can you grab what the schedule is for today? And then
today at 11 Pacific, we've got Jordan doing the we haven't actually posted it yet because it is still early on our coast. But
just tag us in the tweet and we'll retweet it too.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
And since it's Thursday, so we're building 13 games in 13 weeks. We have a team of 4 here at TinyCo, and we're gonna TinyCo. That's an old company of mine. 4 here at Manicore, and we're building 13 games that we're going to release once a week for the next 13 weeks, and we're doing that all on stream as well. So that's what Jordan is streaming today. He's also answering Core Academy questions because he's one of our instructors. So come see what the latest thing that they're building is.
Awesome.
And we'll tweet that out for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for having us.
Make core.
Create core.